If you've been wondering if it's still possible to make money with print on demand in 2023, then you're going to love this interview that I did with one of my students here on YouTube, Noelle. She emailed me after she reached $100,000 in revenue in her first year with her Etsy print on demand business, doing this actually very part-time because she's a busy working mama. So I think this interview is going to be so inspiring. I hope that you love it and get so much value. So please get a pen and paper to take some notes because she shares a lot of great tidbits on exactly what worked for her, and I hope this can really help you in getting ready for your store to grow this Q4. So let's go ahead and say hello to Noelle. All right, hello Noelle. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait to share your super inspirational story of your journey with Etsy and print on demand, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your show. On your YouTube show.
Yeah, I know that's what you said. Your daughter calls it my YouTube show. So
yes.
I'm excited to have you on and share your story because I do think a lot of people are out there that are wondering, is this really possible in 2022, in 2023? Can people still make money with this? And I think you are going to be the perfect proof that yes, it's still possible. So why don't we just start with your story? When did you start your print on demand journey and how has that gone for you so far?
Yeah, so I started my shop last summer, and in fact, today, August 28th, is my first Etsy anniversary sale. So today, a year ago, was the day I made my first sale. And that was really what kicked everything off. And I would say I started my shop, though, like I created it in June, late June or July. So it took a couple weeks, like a month and a half to get my first sale. And yeah, my first sale was actually a Halloween sweatshirt. And it was purchased from someone in Italy. And I don't know if you remember, but I actually commented on one of your YouTube videos saying, "Hey, Cassie, like I just got my first sale. They bought from Italy. I don't know, do you sell out of the United States?" And you gave me this really great explanation as to like why you don't do that, because there's just different like fees and things associated with it. So I chose to not do it anymore. But that was my first and only international sale, and it kicked off my entire store. So yeah.
Wow, that's so exciting. I love that. I commented back. I don't specifically remember, but I get that comment a lot. So it's a good thing to bring up. You're welcome to sell internationally, but just for anyone watching, you can sell only in the US. Even if you don't live here, then you only have to check trademarks in one country instead of multiple. You don't have to worry about different fees and knowing the returns and exchange policies for selling international that can be really different. So if you're just getting started, I think that's a really simple, easy way to go. But that is awesome that was your very first one. And just a quick shout out to selling Halloween stuff in August. If you guys haven't gotten on that, this is your reminder to get started on the holidays early. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that while we're on the topic of your first sale, because I think a lot of people feel really discouraged when they don't get their first sale in the first week, let alone the first month and a half. What did that first month and a half look like for you? Do you remember about how many listings you had to make in that time or how much time you spent before you got that first sale?
Yeah, so I work full time. So I just remember like after my job ended at 5, I was just on the computer for like hours into the night, like 12, 1, 2, 3 sometimes. And I was just uploading as much as I possibly can or could during the month of July, especially, and also in August, because I remember when I first found your channel, you were talking a lot about how Q4 was like the biggest opportunity you have throughout the entire year. People make more money in Q4 than they do the full year combined. So I was like just listing and listing and listing. I would watch like your YouTube videos, like crime documentary shows on the side, because, you know, I'm into crime shows.
We all.
I know we are. And it would be really fun though, once you really just got in the groove of it and you pick up little things that help you streamline how quickly you can list things, like having like, we can jump into it a little bit later on, like into those tactics. But yeah, I was working hours into the night. And there were definitely some weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exhausting. I haven't even seen a sale come through. Like I'm probably, I hope I'm not wasting so much time. But once that first sale like came through and I heard the cha-ching on my phone, I remember just like jumping up, and like at that moment I realized, okay, this is possible. Like I can do like I see the light. There's things that can be done here. So but to answer your question, yeah, it was, I don't remember exactly how many hours I spent on it. I just know that it would be, like 5 hours a day sometimes. And I probably had around, I want to say like maybe 400 listings going into Q4.
Oh, wow. And that wasn't by the time you got your first sale, though. That was just like by
No.
October.
Right. For my first sale, it must have been under 100 listings at that time.
Okay. Yeah,
But
no,
I
that's
was
great.
building it. And yeah, when I went into Q4, I would say it was about 400 or 500 listings that I had.
Wow. Okay, perfect. Then walk us through, what did the next year look like? So you got that first sale August 28th,
Yeah.
2022. So that's so fun that this is your 1 year sale anniversary. Happy anniversary. That's so exciting. And so then what did that look like? How much did you sell in September, October, November, December? How did Q4 end up going with all of those listings that you prepared?
So I had to pull up my stats just to speak a little bit more in detail to the numbers, because when Q4 was happening, it was just like a whirlwind. Plus, all of the customer service emails, I just don't remember. But I have them in front of me. And in the month of September, which was actually, my first month of actually making sales, I did a total of around 2,000, actually around like 2,500 in revenue for September. So that was my first month on Etsy. And then October, it jumped to 8,000 in revenue.
Wow.
And then in November, I made 31,000 in revenue.
Oh my goodness.
That was awesome. And then it took a little dip in December because, of course, you have Christmas, but definitely those 3 months leading up, September, October, and November for me were like really wild. November, of course, was like the biggest one. And after that, of course, like after Q4, it kind of like takes a dip. But throughout the entire year, I would say my sales were very steady. Like I actually didn't put a lot of more time putting listings on, just because I do have a full-time job as well. And it was requiring a lot of time for me. So this entire year, I actually haven't been contributing to my store. It's really just like what I started off at the end of last year. And I would say like my store right now is like around like 600, 700 listings today. And that was just like what I added after Q4. And then like since February to today in August, I haven't uploaded any new listings, maybe like one or two here and there. But I'm really trying to get back into it, of course, because we're like at the very beginning of Q4 this year. And I'm like, okay, I had such a great experience last year. I can do it again. So yeah, I made around $56,000 in revenue in Q4 of last year. And out of that, I calculated my profit margin, and it's around 30%. So I was able to keep around 30% of that.
Wow, in just 3 months, that is not bad at all. I'm sure you were pretty excited about that, and making that kind of money on the side in your spare time. And I think it really does speak to the compounding effect of your listings. You might have to put in a lot of time and a lot of energy all at first to really get your shop stocked. Mm-hmm. But if you do the research and you take your time and you do it right, which it sounds like you really did, then those listings can keep making sales for a really long time after. So it's not quite passive income, right? Because you did have to put a bunch of work into it, and that's not going to last forever, but it does eventually start to feel pretty passive when you haven't made new listings in months, but you're still getting sales consistently. So I'm glad to hear you're back at it now that you've hit 100K in revenue in your business just 1 year in. I feel like that is so amazing, especially with the time that you've put into it. You've gotten so much more out. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more of some advice that maybe you have for people sitting here in August, maybe not getting the sales that they want. Do you have any advice for new sellers on what really worked for you in getting ready for Q4 that you think made the difference to get you that 56K in revenue in those 3 months?
Yes, absolutely. So I would definitely say it's a combination of one, just keeping motivated. You get the first sale. I can't remember after August 28th last year, like when my second one was, but it was definitely trickling in. But there is a point, I would say, in Q4 where all of a sudden, I remember the first day I got like 20 sales and then 30 sales. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is this? This is awesome. So it's really just a matter of keeping motivated and just looking into the future of what could happen. I did a lot of watching your YouTube videos, watching some people that you actually had on like interview style like this on your show. And that just alone was so motivating to me. But the other thing is just being tactical and how you go about it, because you can be there uploading listings daily. And if you're not choosing the right, niche, or if you're, not listing like great mock-ups, like it's not going to get you where you need to get. And dare I say, like sometimes that could lead to like wasted time. So it's a matter of, yes, staying motivated, listing a bunch of things, but also being strategic with what you're listing. I used eRank, and I did a lot of research into, okay, I want to focus on holiday designs because I know that is a very big thing in Q4, but not just like a Christmas tree on a shirt. How can I like double down and find like a specific niche that has enough traffic, but it's not as popular, where I can really like find that sweet spot? And I did a lot of pre-research before I would actually start listing. And then like with that niche in mind, I would make like several different designs specific to that niche. And I wouldn't just stay in that niche alone, because, you don't want all of your eggs in one basket ever. So then I would take a pause, I would take a research day, and I would research more. Okay, like what's another niche that I can do for Christmas or for Thanksgiving? And I would, again, double down in that niche, pump out a couple of listings for that one. And then I would keep doing that. And then once I would get a sale in any one of those like target niches I was focusing on, then I would go back to that one and I would keep listing more and more and more. So definitely did a lot of like niche research. And I also, of course, focused a lot on how my listings looked. I learned how to use Canva, and when you have like your design on your shirt and like the model's hair is like in the front, like just even like deleting some of the design to make it look more natural on the mock-up, and spending some time on the mock-ups, making them look high quality, I think really helped. And I would say just a combination of being strategic and being motivated, and keep going, like don't stop, don't get, discouraged and stop. It's easy to get discouraged, but don't let it stop you, because it's so worth it at the end. And that's what I experienced.
No, I really appreciate you giving really exact actionable advice for the people that are watching, because I think it can feel really overwhelming and discouraging when you're not getting the sales that you want. But I think taking Noelle's advice and taking action in a direction that's proven is a really, really important piece. The biggest benefit to selling on Etsy is there's already millions of shoppers coming to the platform. And so I think she broke it down in a really nice way that all you have to do is figure out what those shoppers are already coming to the platform for and what they're already buying, and then find ways to add value to that niche so someone buys yours instead. And I know personally that's been one of my favorite ways, is to find best-selling niches and then combine them with current trends, current holidays. And that's what's worked really, really well for me as well. And so I think that is just amazing. And then let's look at maybe what are some things that you have had to learn the hard way? Are there any mistakes or anything that you would do differently looking back now that might be good advice for people who are looking to be where you are 1 year from now?
Yeah, so what comes to mind is keywords. You know, when I first started, I was just using very generic keywords, and the keywords you use are just as important as like the niche that you choose. So learning to be specific with the keywords and using different keyword research platforms to help me understand, again, which has the most traffic and which are specific enough where they don't have a bunch of competition. That helped me a lot. Another thing that was very challenging for me was figuring out how to price these products, because I sell mostly, sweatshirts and T-shirts through Printify, and the price for each of the garments vary from like color to color and from like size to size. So just figuring out that was a little bit challenging, because of course you want to know that you're making a profit off of each sale. So I actually purchased your I think it's like an Excel doc. It's for the monthly income statement, but you also have like a profit calculator in there.
Yeah.
So I used that, and it was really helpful to kind of figure out.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. And I'll link that down below for anyone who's watching. It's a Google Sheets document, so you can't actually use it on Excel. I don't know how to convert a Google Sheets to an Excel, but yeah, I'll link it down below. You can put in your monthly expenses. It'll tell you how much profit you made. And then, yes, there was a built-in profit calculator, so you can see after Etsy fees how much profit you're making if you price your items like this. And that's something I built really far into doing my business myself. So that I wish I had when I first got started. So I'm so glad that was a really valuable resource for you.
Yes, I actually use it every month. At the end of every month, I always fill it out, and it helps tax season, especially, so much easier. So I definitely enjoyed using that. I also use the calendar as well, but that's another really helpful tool. But also, kind of going back to the question, the other thing that was challenging when I first started was knowing how many like variations to put out. I think when I first began, I would put out like all of the colors of the rainbow that this shirt came in. And it was very hard, especially during Q4, when a lot of things go out of stock, certain colors. So I ended up deciding just to stick to like, a core four, 5 or 6 colors for every listing that I did. I think 6 is even pushing it. But sometimes I would look at the design and I'm like, oh, it looks so cute on that color, I want to include it. But now I'm definitely more strategic with, okay, does this color go out of stock a lot? And if so, should I just like nail it down to like 4 colors only? And simplifying the listing in that way really helped, because I didn't have to deal with as many out of stock messages or like customer service issues, things like that.
Yeah, and I think most shirts that sell on the internet are really simple colors anyway. I feel like this is something people overthink a lot. So I'm glad that you came to that conclusion yourself. Like if you were only going to sell a couple shirt colors in your store, I'd probably recommend white, black, athletic heather, and maybe heather peach. That's a pretty popular color. And you could probably do great with literally only those colors. I'd say one that's really popular right now is kind of like the natural or like sand colored shirts too. Like you don't have to offer a million colors. Your design is what they're buying. It doesn't have to be in a blue shirt and a green shirt and a red shirt and all these crazy things. Just keep it simple. And when you simplify your process, you're like, okay, I'm only going to use these colors every time. Then your process gets so much faster. Like I bet you when you first started, it took you a really long time to do one listing. And how fast do you think you can do one listing now compared to when you started?
Yeah, so I can do a listing, I would say like 10 times faster than I did before, just because I have everything set up. Of course, making the first listing takes a lot of time because you have to like create the description and you have to create all of the mock-up pictures. But now I have a single Canva project, I guess you would call it, with like the different pictures of the models. And when I have a design, I just pop it onto all of those slides and I download it. And then I have all the pictures I need and I just pop it on my listing. And then of course the description, it actually gets attached to your listing when you clone a product within Printify. Printify is what I use. So just like the little tactical setup things are all there when you start to create more listings, and it just makes it so much easier. But kind of going back to like the simplicity of the colors of shirts you choose, I also completely agree now with you that simple sells, even in designs too, because I remember wanting to like be very creative with different designs I would do. And it's funny because like the black and white ones would always sell more than like the colored ones or like the multicolored ones. You know, I realize like even a lot of shirts that just have like text, like words, and sometimes I will change colors in the letters and make it a little bit more trendy. Those always sell so great too, versus like visual graphics, at least for me. So simple definitely sells, and I attest to that today.
So I'd love to know, what type of store do you actually have? Do you have a general store where you sell lots of different niches? Did you decide to make your whole store around one niche? I know that's a question I get a ton here on my channel. So I'd love to hear what has worked for you in your last year.
So I do have a general store, and I focus on like seasonal designs. I focus on certain types of jobs and careers. And I also do a lot of location, like sweatshirts and shirts. So a lot of those things definitely sell. During my Q4 of last year, the majority of my sales actually came from group listings. And that group listing specifically was a combination of a type of career and Christmas. And so I was able to combine both of those into like a Christmas design for this type of career. And that specific career, actually, like there's a lot of like groups involved. And so I made it customizable too. So I had a lot of orders and people reaching out asking, to purchase that for their team or for their group, whatever it was. I know like family Christmas shirt, like Christmas group shirts are great. I actually tried to do that, but I think like the design that I first started with that was just too general, and it needed to have like another like more like another niche tied to it, like maybe like a Christmas holiday shirt going to a certain location and making it like customizable. So that's kind of what I did during Christmas. And I didn't start the group shirts because it was a little intimidating to figure out how to do it. I know you have a great video though showing how to create group listings, and I remember watching it and I was like, this is too complicated. No, I don't want to do it. And then I kept hearing you talk about how like successful they are. So I gave it a shot, and just like the initial listing, when you have a group listing, all you need to do is clone it, and it really becomes super easy too. So I'm glad I did that. It's a lot easier now to do it and take orders. And it really was my biggest seller last year.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, because I do talk so much about group listings here on my channel and in my course. And I feel like people really underestimate what I'm talking about. Like that is the biggest thing. If I could go back to the beginning, I would make group listings right from day one, because it took me months to really get into them, and probably even a year before I started focusing on it a ton. And it made such a drastic difference. And the personalization stuff too. You know, it might seem daunting at first, but you guys can do it. I've got videos I'll link below for the group shirts and how to do personalized listings. And the reason why you'll make so much more money doing it is because it scares off a lot of people. Not everyone wants to do those things or is willing to learn how, but you can make so much more money for doing it that way. And so I guess my last question for you, what's your strategy going into Q4 this year? Are you going to be doing anything different? Do you have any big goals for this year? What's that looking like for you?
Definitely focusing on more group listings. And another thing just like amazing about them is because you're not just making more sales and you're not just selling more shirts, but you're actually keeping more of the profit because in the shipping cost, it becomes a lot less. So I'm going to spend this week looking at like different keywords using eRank and figuring out, you know, what people are searching up. I'm definitely going to just use what I've learned last year and apply it to this year. So again, not being broad, not just doing like a Christmas shirt, but doing like a Christmas and what, like a Christmas and location, Christmas and job, or, you know, Thanksgiving and, you know, like combining niches together to create like a more specific niche. And definitely focusing on just getting the Canva templates I have all set up and situated, because that saves so much time. Like when you have everything ready to go and you can like easily like add things and move on to new listings. And I also saw that you posted a recent video on how to use Canva. I think it's like ChatGPT to be more not strategic, but more efficient with listing uploads. So that is on my list to watch, and I think I'm going to give that a shot. So being strategic, not just with the designs and niches that I choose, but with my time and how I focus on uploading listings.
Yes, I think you'll love that video, and I'll link the one that she's talking about down below. It's a tutorial I made on how to make 100 designs in an hour. And essentially, it's you spend a really good amount of time, like Noelle's talking about, doing the research part. That's the important part that people can miss and end up wasting their time. But if you really spend your time doing the research and finding good niches that are in demand and great to mix with, say, a holiday, and then you use the bulk create feature in Canva, which you'll see in the tutorial if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can quickly and easily make 50 designs in 1 minute by creating one Canva template and having it just switch out a word. Let's say the word would be a different profession that it switches out, and you can have 50 designs made in a snap. But the important part is doing that research first to make sure there's demand for it, for all of those niches, and also making sure that you're researching that your design is not going to be too generic, that'll be competitive. And so it's all the little things that come together. So if you're watching this and you're not getting the sales that you want, I hope you're taking lots of notes from Noelle, that it really is worth your time to sit down and make sure you're using the best mockups, that you understand the SEO, that you're doing niches that are in demand right now on Etsy and mixing them with holidays. All those things combined could get you guys watching this your very first 100K sales on Etsy in the next year as well. So thank you so much, Noelle, for being so generous with your time and your experience. I think this is going to be so helpful for everyone who's watching, and I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I was so happy to share my story, and I wish all of you the best of luck with your Etsy shops.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.